Okay, so sorry, technical difficulties, but welcome. My mic was muted. I'm so sorry. But I haven't been on here in a little while. Okay, so sorry, technical difficulties, but welcome. My mic was muted. I'm so sorry. But I haven't been on here in a little while. Okay, so sorry. Again, a little more technical difficulties, but welcome back. Here, I'm Lady in the Ramp. I'm glad that you guys are all here. It looks like you guys are from, look at Oklahoma, Minneapolis, Nebraska, Texas, Prescott. Let's see, anywhere else? From Perth, Australia. That's awesome. Okay, so yeah, just let me know where you guys are coming in from, where you guys are tuning in from. That would be awesome. I love connecting with all of you throughout the country and the world. But I just haven't been on here for a little while, so I thought I would just hop on real quick, do a quick little live stream. Recently, okay, and one more thing. If you guys have any questions about any of my previous videos or whatever, just start putting them in the chat box, and I'll get to the question and answer period after this little thing that we saw recently. It was like about a week or so ago, we saw this video of these rampers just throwing these golf bags. And I know that the PGA just had their tournament, their championship tournament. And so golf maybe is on other people's minds. Here in Phoenix, we host a really big, it's called the Waste Management Phoenix Open, a really big Phoenix or golf tournament here in the Valley, and it's beautiful, wonderful. We love it. So many people come in from all over the place. It was right around the Super Bowl time last year. So we had the Super Bowl and the Phoenix Open at the same time. And man, our airport was packed. It was awesome. We loved it. But whenever that happens, there's a huge increase in golf bags. And so we just saw this video of this team. I think it was a collegiate level team, and they were flying on another carrier. And we saw this video. Let's play that video. Okay. So here you'll kind of see.
I know, I can see.
I would never do this. We have a ton of golfers because we live here in Phoenix. We have beautiful weather all during the winter and all during the fall. We have beautiful golf courses here. So we have a lot of, we even have a lot of rampers who are in tournaments and everything. So we know that golf clubs are precious cargo. Well, basically everything we handle, we never want to throw and toss like this. So I don't know if these guys were having a bad day. There was a ton of golf clubs coming. So I'm sure there was a lot of work. You get tired or fatigued, but this is absolutely unacceptable. I know that all of our fellow employees out here were just dying when we saw this. So, and sometimes too, if you do get tired, you need to say, okay, hey, I need to take a break. I'm going to rotate out or something. Or if, as a crew chief, if you see one of your fellow employees doing that, that's when you come in and you say, hey man, why don't you go take a break? Let's cool off a little bit and have somebody else come in and do that. Move the golf clubs, because I just am feeling horrible for this guy filming. I'm sure those are some of his clubs out there, and he's just dying that they're just tossing them onto the ground and then onto the cart. So again, what I would have done in this situation is I would have moved up the cart. So if you can see, he's tossing them back to that second cart. I would have moved up the cart so that the belt loader has the golf clubs right at that second cart, so you can just stack them nicely up on there. Um, I'm not sure. I don't know. This is the only viewpoint that I can see. I don't know anything about this scenario, just this 5 or 10 second clip of him tossing these golf clubs. So just know that we as my technical title, it's called a fleet service agent. As agents, as ramp crews down on the ramp, this is definitely out of procedure. This is not protocol. We should never be throwing bags ever. I mean, we call them tossing bags all the time, but technically we're, especially with golf clubs, musical instruments, there's a lot of cargo. There's bags that probably have special items in there. We always try to keep them and treat them with respect. And if we are getting tired, that's when we need to say, okay, hey, I need to tag out for a minute, or can somebody help me? So, all right. Any questions? Let's look at the questions. Okay, so hi, Sarah. It says, Sarah, it says, what advice would you give for other women wanting to get into ramping? That is a great question. So right now, our company is hiring. We are super excited as rampers because we need all these new hires in. So we're excited that we're hiring. But I would say, understand that it's a very, obviously, you've seen some of my videos. It's a very physical job, but there are breaks and stuff. So just know that you're going to be using, you're going to be using a lot of your muscles, a lot. You will be getting fatigued. You do get sweaty out there. But it is so fulfilling. Like, what I didn't recognize about this job is that once I got out on the ramp, I have just loved being around airplanes. I love being around aircrafts. I love the teamwork that happens. And there is a different chemistry or connection between the woman, and because typically we do work with a lot of males, but it's very rare that there's any type of disrespect out there. I work with different teams all the time because I'm what you called it's not a hired on crew chief. So I'm a part-time ramper, but I have my qualifications to be a crew chief. So a lot of times they will upgrade me to crew chief if the company's needing more crew chiefs that day, or let's say another crew chief wants to swap and work my part-time shift, so I'll work his crew chief line. So anyhow, I have the opportunity to work with a lot of different teams, and I work with a lot of different people. What I love about at the ramp too is that you get to know all these people from it in our station. They're from all over the world, all different backgrounds, all over the country. And it's so cool because as you're working around the belt loader, I kind of think like, you know how you go down to the river, like in olden times, you go down to the river and wash clothes and stuff, like, and you're all sitting around that river, chit chatting and talking. That's kind of, I feel like the belt loader is kind of like the river. Like everybody's, as you're doing your work, you're sitting there and naturally getting to know people, asking, what's your favorite trip that you've gone on. And, but I really do love the teamwork about this job. I mean, obviously my favorite part is pushing, and I would not be afraid to try not to be afraid. Like try to be like, okay, I can do this. I can learn how to push, because it is a little intimidating. You have this massive, I mean, I think I looked up how much like a new Airbus, or what maybe I looked up a 737. A brand new 737 is $106 million. So you are pushing, you're in contact with these massive aircrafts that are worth a whole lot of money. But you know what? It is so satisfying and so fulfilling. Like, I would say, be confident, get out there and get on every training list that you can, or however that carrier does it. We have training lists. That was one great thing that I had a great mentor right from the get-go when I was training, and he really encouraged. Actually, there was another girl with me, and he really encouraged us to become crew chief qualified right away, which meant we had to learn how to push. So immediately, right from the get-go, we started pushing. So I really loved that advice, and I would give that same advice to you. It's a great job. Okay, it says, what's your highest level of education? This is from Sonic Goose. Hi, Sonic Goose. What's your highest level of education, and why did you get into ramping? So actually, this is really funny. I do have my bachelor's degree, but it is in PE and coaching, sports teaching emphasis. And it is also, I have a driver's ed minor. Isn't that awesome? But I actually have a lot of children. So I have not really worked most of my life. I've supported and kind of kept the home running and going while my husband went off, and he got, anyhow. So he's working, supporting the family. But then as my kids have gotten older, there is a bunch of women in our neighborhood, a bunch of my friends, as all of our kids have started leaving the house, they wanted something to do. And so one friend, she started working at the airlines because she found out that you can get free flights and they have some great benefits. And she started loving it. So then we started seeing her family going all over the place. And we're like, oh my gosh, what is this? So now there is a total of, 5, and we have a couple more that work with our sister company. So there's like 6 or 7, 8 of us in our neighborhood, all of us women that work on the ramp. And what I didn't realize is I like I said before, I totally fell in love with the airplanes. I still want to know everything about them. So I love having this channel because I get so many, like a lot of you are the aircraft mechanics, or you guys work in at Airbus in France. I love hearing tidbits and information. There's pilots who have given me tips of how to do things, or I just love it. I really appreciate you guys. Okay. All right. What is the next question? Okay. MW. Hello, Jessica. I'm 53 and wondering if I should work at the ramp. I have heard people say that the job can harm your spine due to baggage loading in the bins. What are your thoughts? Thanks, Mark. Okay. So there are, I have always loved to work out. So I feel like if you do have to be pretty fit, you have to be able to handle, you will get acclimated as you start working in the job, like to the load. But I am 48 and I work on the ramp and I love it. I do definitely see. So there are times that there's occasionally when I don't work out for a week, I want to make sure that I'm always working out because I want to have correct form when I'm lifting bags in the bin. So they do kind of teach you some correct, using your body the correct way, kind of the biomechanics of lifting things, but you have to implement them. That's a big thing. You have to try and make sure, okay, oh, am I hunching over? Don't hunch over. Keep that back and those shoulders back. Keep that core tight. Make sure when you're twisting, how you're twisting. If you're using your big, like your muscles, your quads and your glutes and stuff, you want to use all those big muscles first before you start tweaking your back and stuff. So you do have to be cautious. You do definitely have to be cautious of how you handle the bags. And if you start feeling something like the tightness in your back or tightness in your low back, you need to kind of maybe back off. See if you can change, because on the ramp, there's lots of different positions. See if you can change that for a while, get that back all worked out. Maybe do a lot of stretching. Like I always stretch. I know it probably seems ridiculous, but I always stretch like before I go into the bin just to get me all ready and prepped. Because it is it's kind of like a workout, every time you're loading those bags, you're kind of doing like a little mini workout. So that's a great question, but I think you can do it. You should go for it. Okay. Captain Lyle, howdy. He said, ever work the ERJs or CRJs? Okay. So ERJs are Embraers and CRJs those are our two smaller regional planes. And for about, I think, was it 4 or 6 weeks, I worked over at our sister company that manages all of our regional jets. And so for just a short amount of time, I did work those, and I totally loved pushing those as well. They have definitely different pushbacks, the way that they have pushbacks, and it's opposite. The way that you push those smaller planes is opposite than the way we push our 737s, our in our Airbuses. So, but I did recently fly on an Embraer 175, and it was so comfortable. It was a great plane. Like I think, and they're starting to put more of those into our flights right now. So that they're wonderful planes. So, and the little CRJs, they can get in and out of certain airports that some of our bigger planes can't. I know, like, I think it's Aspen for sure. I think they fly in the CRJs into, there's some airports have shorter runways, or they have obstacles like in Aspen, they have like the big mountains that you have to be able to climb very quickly to get up and out of that airport. So I know those jets are like vital to our fleet. So good question. Thanks, Captain Lyle. Okay, here's one from Rick Campbell. It says, after the pushback and disconnect, what is the ribbon looking thing you hold up and show the pilots? Looks like about 2 feet long. Good question. Rick, I appreciate that, because sometimes I forget, like when you're doing stuff, it just becomes second nature. And so sometimes I forget that you guys don't know that is actually called the bypass pin. So the bypass pin, right when we get to our plane, like to do the outbound, our procedure is to immediately put in the bypass pin. The bypass pin goes into the nose gear of the plane, and it bypasses the hydraulic system. So when we push, it gives the ground crew the control of the nose gear. And it's like a really vital piece of equipment. We should never push without that bypass pin. And so it's so important that when the wing walker, after we push and we're completely brake set, that's this hand signal, brake set, and our wing walker approaches the plane, what they're doing is they're releasing the tow bar and removing that bypass pin. So therefore giving the control back up to the pilots, back up to the flight crew. And then they're going to take it over. And that's what that red flag is, because the pin is very small. So it's attached to a red flag, so that so that when the wing walker takes it over to the other wing walker who's holding the X, and the X is letting the pilot know, hey, we're still working down here. Don't move the aircraft at all. That's what it means. No movement of the aircraft. Stop. And then that other wing walker walks over, hands the bypass pin to that wing walker with the X. And then that wing walker is showing the pilot, hey, look, I have the bypass pin for sure, is taken, removed from the plane, so that you have that control back. It won't damage the plane if you move now. So then we show the bypass pin, and then as the crew leaves, and then they will salute the captain, and then the whole crew moves off, and then whenever the captain is ready, he will proceed forward. So good question. Hi, Sarah. Okay, have you ever ramped for an NFL team that flew into Phoenix? Okay, so sometimes we do charters. I haven't seen charters lately, but right when I was training, it was awesome because my mentor was in charge of charters, was in charge of charters. So it was cool because we did do a couple. I don't think we did an NFL team. What did we do? I know we did a collegiate team. I think the ASU, did we do? I don't know if it was the Cardinals or not, but I know that we did for sure the ASU football team. And the whole process of the way the charters work is different than flying commercially. They actually drive up onto the runway in their large buses. And then we have a crew that unload all of their equipment and everything, put them in the cargo bins, but we have stairs then that go up to the aircraft. And that aircraft typically we call it on our N1 concourse, kind of like, so it allows the bus to come in not in the middle of everything, not in 2 or 3 on the other concourses, but it was on N1. And anyhow, so it was nice because they have like all the players and the staff and everybody go up these stairs, and all of their equipment is loaded, but it kind of just bypasses the whole public concourses, which I think allow them to get on and be able to move quicker through the process. So, but that was really cool. I loved it. So I hope we get charters back soon. I hope we get more teams. So, okay, Captain's Table MDR. Hi, how are you? Hello. Says, did you ever consider the route of flight attendant and all over the ramp? I imagine bags might be easier to deal with than customers. Okay, so that's a really good point too. When I started, I knew that, so because my friends had been there at the ramp, I knew that the reason why I didn't go flight attendant route was because they are kind of like the same thing with the pilots, which I actually considered being a pilot as well. But the same issue came up is that they are like 4 days on, 3 days off. They're gone overnight often. And that was something that I knew that it didn't quite work with my family. And so I knew that I wanted to be home every single night. So that's why I chose the ramp. And actually, when I actually applied for the ramp, a fleet service agent, and also the gate. So and it was like, I think it was during COVID. But so those two positions, so I actually got hired for those two positions, but I had to choose one. And so since my friends were down on the ramp, I chose that. And also during COVID, I thought that would be challenging to manage all that emotion with the customers. I'm sure that there seemed to be like a lot of frustrations during that time. And I did actually think about that. I thought, okay, you're right. Bags don't talk back, So, yeah. So there's always these pros and cons to each position. And there's a lot of work areas in our company that all work together. Like we have gates, we have the ticketing counter, we have people that work up in the Admirals Club, the guest services, we have our flight crews, we have our flight attendants, we have baggage resolution office. Like there's all these things, all these components that work together. And so I'm always like, okay, should I try that? Because again, I love learning. I love like understanding how everything fits together. And it's amazing. The more you kind of dig into things, you're like, this is just an amazing jigsaw puzzle that seems to work. And when one like cog goes out of place, you can see the ripple effect. Like just this last week, there was a lot of weather. So weather issues in Dallas, weather issues on the East Coast. And there was just this ripple effect of pilots then not being, and crews not being where they needed to be, of planes not being where they needed to be because they were grounded and stuck in other places. Then that just goes, and the passengers now have been waiting and they're trying to get on these flights and going to other destinations. So it's so interesting to watch and see and learn, kind of understanding how intricate all of these pieces fit together, and that we are like this big team trying to get everybody to their destinations and their bags and their cargo and their freight safe and happy. That's our number one goal. So, hi, Jose. It says, will you start an Instagram? Okay, good question. I do have an Instagram. I just started it, and I think we just shared it on there. Let's see. Okay, yeah. All right. Yes. So good question. All right. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. 813 Aviation. It says, my 19-year-old son is interested in doing this. How do you progress from an entry-level job just starting out on the ramp? Okay, that's a great question too. This is a great job, I feel like, especially at his age. There are a lot of places that he can go with it. What is also interesting in all of the airline industry, it's all about seniority. As flight attendant, that's another reason why I didn't become a flight attendant, is because the senior people, I would be working probably a lot of holidays, a lot of weekends, a lot of like on call. So it just wasn't vibing. But as a 19-year-old, that means that he can progress. They're like becoming, a lot of our rampers transition into becoming mechanics, aviation mechanics. They pay great. It's a great working environment. If he is at all interested in aviation, it's very fascinating. So, and then also from there too, you can become a manager. You can like, so how it kind of works on the ramp is that you can be an agent, and you can stay an agent the whole time. But as your seniority grows, then your pay scale increases, and you get better bids and your time off and all this kind of stuff. Your vacations get longer as you stay on the ramp. So I know transitioning, I think from our ramp division to like our mechanics, they talk all about seniority, how like if that transfers and all that kind of stuff. So I would say, hey, go for it. This is an awesome job. I love it. I think it teaches good work ethic. I think and it is really important about being on time. Like I have several kids that age right now, and this would be a great job for them. They have somebody to that they're responsible for. Like planes go out at this time, period. Like we have, our whole goal is to get them out on time. We do not, if we go late, and if it's our delay, if it's gates delay, all this kind of stuff, we never want to add to the delay, because then it's that ripple effect again. And so yeah, I think it's a great job for kids. Yeah. So, okay. Oh my gosh. Let me see if I can pronounce this name. Burgos Electronica. It says, hi, Jess. How often weekly do you push a wide body plane? If you do, of course. Kisses from Brazil. Oh my gosh. It's 11:26 there, PM. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Brazil. Thank you so much for staying up so late. Okay, so I'm on the training list for wide bodies. I want to push a wide body. I love the 777s. The two wide bodies that we fly are the 777 and the 787, the Dreamliner. I would love to push those. I have not had that opportunity yet. I've ridden with people who push them. So I would love to push those bigger planes. I want the bigger, the better, like, so, one day, hopefully I'll get called down off that training list and I'll be able to push those. But okay, Martin Medina. Hey, Martin. Okay, how different is pushing different size planes from a 737 to A20 to 777 and A350 and so on? Okay, so general rule of thumb, I don't know if you have ever had boat trailers or horse trailers or trailers it typically is the same thing with planes. The shorter the axle, or the shorter the plane, the squirrelier it is, the more maneuverability, the more sensitive it is to every time you turn. It's very reactive to that turn. So I have been told that the bigger the planes, the easier it is to push, because also when you're pushing planes, like a 737 is different than any of our Airbuses, because our Airbuses sit up higher. So when I am looking at the main gear, I can see the main gear the entire time. And typically I'm basing off, so the main gear, right? I'm trying to split my line in between that main gear. So I can see that clear off of our Airbuses the entire time. Now the 737, it sits lower, except on our 737, we have some Maxes. But even then, it's not, they are higher, but so the 737s are just a touch more challenging because you cannot see them. But as soon as you start your turn, then I'm kind of looking at where my tail is going to be. So, so that kind of resolves itself a little bit. But so typically like the A319s, they can get really squirrely real quick. I typically always push them. I call it shallow. I turn a little bit too quickly, so they're on this side of the line, which I think I explained in another video. Sometimes I would rather push too shallow than push too late and have them go across that center line where other traffic is coming in. So that's a good question. Okay, hi Sarah again. Okay, it says, if you don't mind me asking, how are situations where bags arrive late or when delays happen, does that affect your schedule on the ramp? Okay, so we have a whole division devoted to delays. So like it's called expedite, where all of our, so any type of delay. So let's say that we have what, like just this last week, we had weather issues. So we have passengers that didn't make their connecting flights, or their connecting flights didn't go out. So then we have all of these bags go to expedite, and they are rerouted. And typically they will ask the customer, or decide if the customer is going to be able to make it to that. Would they rather have the bags there first? And I mean, it's a totally that expedite position, that expedite worker, that's their call. But a lot of times they want the bag to get there prior to the passenger. I think a lot, like me personally, I would rather have my bag there waiting for me than getting there and having to wait for my bag. So that's their ideal situations, is to make sure that, or to get the bag on the actual flight of the customer, of the passenger. So it can be very challenging, but we have some great knowledgeable expedite workers out there. And just know we have a whole division. And then if your bags are late, it's called the BSO. There's a baggage resolution office that they typically take those bags, hold them, let you know, hey, we have them here, or they'll try and route them to wherever they can. But that is challenging. That is, but personally, it doesn't affect us as rampers. We will still work our same hours, because they'll have another whole crew. They'll have some more crews coming in once we're done. So if those flights go out late, they'll have other crews pushing those flights if they're past our out time. So it typically doesn't affect our schedule very much. Okay, hi MW. Does the wing walker have a special signal for you with their sticks to tell you to immediately stop the push? Yes. Example, if there's another plane or vehicle behind the one you are pushing. Absolutely, yes. So it's really important that we as pushback drivers are very attentive to our wing walkers. Our wing walkers do a very important job. And just like that, you said, if all of a sudden something happens, they are immediately putting up that X. So with their wands. And when that X is set up, I'm immediately trying to stop my push. So, and remember, with a plane, with an aircraft, it's very heavy. So that momentum is already, and I don't want to jam on those brakes. I want to make sure that I'm stopping the plane, because I know that typically the flight attendants are up giving their safety dialogue to all the passengers about, the oxygen masks and flotation devices and stuff like that. So they are standing. So I know that when I'm pushing, they are standing. So I don't want to do anything but of course, we don't ever want to cause any type of accident, but that's exactly what I'm looking for. That's also too, when I'm pushing really tight to the terminal, I am really glued onto watching that wing walker, so that I am backing up and I'm not close. Once he does the X, that's when I'm stopping, because I don't ever want to hit that terminal with my aircraft. So yeah, wing walkers are super important. Okay. Hi, Douglas. What's the strangest cargo you've ever loaded? Okay, I don't know if it's strange. We just loaded a bunch of aquarium fish, which was crazy. I've never seen that before, but we do lobster. We do all types of fish. We do, I don't know if I said this before, but we do, there are places that have these medical facilities that are research centers. So we do body parts, or organs. I mean, organs are great, transplant, donation organs. Those are our highest priority that we have. They always will go on the flight first, because we know that they are life-saving. There's so many. Oh, we've transported baby chicks before, they're just chirping all the time. Lots of interesting stuff. Yeah, super interesting. So strangest, that's good. Okay. Okay, have you ever you push or know someone that pushes a 757 old plane? They still fly in the United States. Okay, so I do know some of our old crew chiefs have pushed the 57s before. When I got hired on, they have eliminated that plane from our fleet. So we don't fly them in our fleet anymore. So I have never had the opportunity to push the 57s, but I have lots of older crew chiefs that have been with the company for a long time, and they have. I think, aren't they like, I thought that they were like longer, like more like pencil shaped, like anyhow, you'll have to tell me, but I have never have. I'm wondering if you have, and how they vary. NY City Aviation says, "Hi, Jessica. Do you routinely get training at other large airports such as JFK?" So, in our company, we are trained specifically for the station that we are located at. So, my station is Phoenix. So, I'm trained by Phoenix rampers, by Phoenix trainers, and and it's station specific. Now, there are general things that we all across all of our stations across the country and across the the world, they have similar practices, but like our DFW, which is our hub, they do things a little bit different because um, they don't marshal in their planes. It's all done electronically. And so there are things that are different vary from station to station. I just went to JFK a little while ago, and it was fascinating to watch the rampers. And a lot of things I'm like, oh yeah, we do that too. But the way that their ramp is set up and their concourses are totally different than the way we have it set up in Phoenix. And so it was cool to watch the differences, but also to see the similarities. So, yes, we never, unless we transfer to that station, then you do have, like, I think a 2-week training period to kind of get into their system and learn their ways of that specific station. And then you can go and be a full transfer. So, good question. Okay. Cadet Clark, 1996 Aviation. Okay. How would you describe your airline's work culture? Well, I love my team right now. So I'm on a very specific team, but I feel like down on the ramp there is this give and flow, and I think it all depends on how the individual looks at it, because I love getting to know people, especially in our industry. Like, people are from all over the place, and I feel like if you pause and take a moment and kind of learn their story and talk to them, and we're all working the same job, um, and we all understand, you get this like camaraderie because you understand, okay, that was a heavy load, oh my gosh, that just totally wiped us out, or we had so much cargo, or we had so much mail. So I really love it. I love the teamwork. I love getting to know people. We have great people out there. Um, it's just a really hard working group of people. And so I love it. Okay, TC, it says, how much training do you need before the first ever pushback? That is a good question as well, because here at our station, we do not have any type of simulator. I know in Dallas, there's a pushback simulator, but there's no pushback simulator here in Phoenix. So we actually start out on live flights. And on my Instagram, you can see some of my earlier pushes. You'll see I'm in an orange vest. That means I'm training. But you actually start on live flights. So you are with a pushback instructor. And he is right there. Typically, also when you were starting, just barely pushing, he wears the headset. He's talking to the pilot, and he typically communicates, hey, just to let you know, we're training down here, so we're going to be going really slow. We start up very slow. So he's then directing. So he actually has the headset talking. So then the person that's brand new on the tug is not having to multitask, is not having to worry about, because we have very specific things that we need to let the pilot know. And so you're not worried about that dialogue or anything. So Yeah. So and before I ended up doing like a solo push, I probably pushed like 50 times before I ever did a push by myself. So typically I always had a pushback instructor with me until I felt completely comfortable. They make you push out of all different types of gates. And then they have another trainer who actually passes you off and make sure that you have the competency to push those aircraft by yourself. Okay, ATF, what is your all-time favorite airplane? You know what? Okay, so that's a good question. I really like the Airbus, the 321s. I feel like, well, okay, I guess here's what I kind of want to clarify. The Airbus 321 as a ramper, loading it it's taller. The bins are taller, so you can so you're on your knees and you can kind of stand up straight. The bins are sectioned differently, so that's also nice. I like pushing them because I can see all the way to the tail. But I recently flew the 777, I think it was a 777-300 to JFK. It was awesome. That was such a beautiful plane. It was a beautiful, very comfortable. It was just I felt like it floated. It was so nice. Yeah, so I loved flying on the 777. Okay. Jacob Jones. Love the channel. Oh, thank you, Jacob. Have you ever had a time where you get the plane loaded with bags and then a storm rolls in and the flight gets canceled? Yes, we do have. Actually, we had that this last week. So sometimes what you have to do is, once you've loaded a bag, you've loaded the whole plane, and then you get notified that, hey, actually because like here in Phoenix, typically we don't have too bad of weather where they actually get canceled. It's very rare because of our weather type. Now, when lightning happens, they can be delayed. But what happens is that our other destination, they were canceling flights. They couldn't receive any aircraft. So yes, so then what we have to do is we have to unload all the bags once they figure out where that flight is going to do, or when that flight is going to load. So then we have to unload all those bags, put them back in the carts, and then we will either take them to expedite, or they typically have a plan. So they're going to say, oh, there's a gate change. You actually need to take them to this gate. But typically, a lot of times too, they'll have like the crew that loaded and unloaded, they'll have another crew that goes and loads the other plane, hopefully. So good question. Hi, Chris. It says, do any coworkers have a pilot certificate of any kind, private instrument, commercial, multi-engine, glider, or any of other FAA certificates? Yes, we have several out there that are either in flight school right now. We have several with their private, several with their instrument commercial. We had one recently that got his multi-engine, and that he got hired on with a regional. So yeah, he just recently did that, and that was awesome. So yeah, lots of rampers transition from being a ramper to a pilot. So, all righty. Let's see. Okay, Sarah. Hi, Sarah again. It says, how does baggage claim work with getting bags from the plane to the customer? Very good question. So we call those local bags. So when a flight comes in, and there are two, we either call them connecting bags, and they're connecting to another flight, or they're locals. They're staying there in Phoenix. Their final destination is Phoenix. So we have a local runner, and that person will, as they're coming off the belt, you'll see, I don't know if you've seen in some of my other videos, there's a couple of carts around, and they all have a different job. There might be 1 or 2, 3 connects runners. It depends on how many connects people there are. And then there's also a local runner. And it depends on, like, some of our flights only have like 4 or 5 locals, and most of them are connecting flights. Some of our flights, this is their final destination. So we have like 75 or 100 or 125 locals. It kind of depends on the time of the day as well. So from there, we fill our carts, we stack our local bags, and we always separate them into priority bags and and normal bags, because the priority bags always go onto the local belt first so that they come up. So after we take our cart, there's a whole big intricate conveyor belt system. But with locals, what they do is we put them on on certain belts that go up from the basement or from wherever we're inducting them, and they go to the conveyor belts, the round conveyor belts up in the terminal. So we scan them. We always scan them, put on those priority bags first, and they go up a big conveyor belt, and they go up into the belt system up above into the terminal. It is actually fascinating. So, okay. Hi, David. I work the ramp at a small airport in ME. I should know ME, Maine. Okay, thank you. We vary in flights from 2 RJ turns a day in the winter and 8 turns a day with mainline in the summer. Do you notice any seasonal changes of flights load factor? Absolutely. That's wow. That's a big swing, huh? To 2 turns to 8 turns. That's a huge swing. But I can understand in Maine, you probably get a lot of weather. You get the snow and rain and ice. Here in Phoenix, we tend to go down when the summer heats up. So we always go up during holidays, but our load factor right now is actually just transitioning down. We were at a higher load factor. Typically in springtime, we have a higher load factor. So yeah, you're right. There is a seasonal change to the load factors. Okay, RJ in the OC says, why does the pin need to be shown to the captain after the pushback? So because you cannot push with that plane. So he cannot start and go with that pin in. It's like all about aircraft damage. We don't ever want to create any type of aircraft damage. So if he needs to see that bypass pin has been removed, the hydraulic system is now, he has the control of the plane. So he needs to actually see that bypass pin. So that's our procedure. And I think that's our procedure. And it's very important to make sure that these planes that cost so much money, we don't ever want to have any type of delay. And anytime there's even a little something that's just off a little bit, we will always stop the flight. So if he doesn't see that bypass pin, he won't leave. So, and also the wing walker should never put down the X until they have that bypass pin. Hi, Shanta. It said, did you ever consider being a commercial pilot? So right when I got hired and I started falling in love with these aircraft, for about 9 months, I researched extensively becoming a commercial pilot. And so my age is a factor in it because I know that commercial pilots have to retire at 65. But for about 9 months, but we have a bunch of flight schools here. So I went and did a lot of research there. I have friends who are going, who are training to become pilots and commercial pilots. And it just didn't fit into my family life, into what I'm foreseeing for the next 15 years of our life. Like, I didn't want, first of all, about seniority here in the industry. So I didn't want to be, as I'm getting older, to still be working on like Mother's Day and Christmas and all that kind of stuff. So it really was about the schedule and about the time that I would have to put in to make sure that I got the return on investment. But I still, oh my gosh, I still would love to be a pilot. So one part of our job it's being part of the tow team, and you get a brake ride. So that means when they're towing an aircraft from like the hangar to a gate, you have rampers up there that are brake riding, that are up in the cockpit, and they have to learn how to do all these specific things to get the plane back from the hangar to the gate. And so I have looked into being on the tow team because I would love to be up there. I just love these planes. So that's something that still kind of is in the back of my head, but I know that I am like, my clock is ticking. So Okay, hi TC. Okay, is it harder to work at nights due to the limited visibility? I would say absolutely. Everything changes at night, and is most of my videos are done during the day. I have a day shift right now, but it definitely does. Like when I swap out with other crew chiefs, or I need to do some videos at night, because all of a sudden you can't see the lines, kind of like the guidelines that we go off of. The reflection of the lights on the runways, there's dark areas here and there. Yes, everything changes at night. So it adds a little bit of complexity to it. Um, it is interesting though, because the way you disconnect and stuff from the plane, like they flash their lights at you. There's different signals now at nighttime. And also at nighttime, it's really cool. I know that this is kind of juvenile, but I love that the wands light up. They're like lightsabers, like the wing walkers look like, Jedis out there. So, okay. All right. So I think, Jacob. Okay. We have another one from Jacob. Have you ever had a time where you push back a plane and all of a sudden they have to return to the gate? So, yes, we have had that. That is definitely a scenario that we have encountered. It can be, there's a myriad of reasons that could happen. Maybe somebody got sick or is unwell or had an incident up in the aircraft. And the pilot is saying, okay, I need to return back to the gate. That is definitely a scenario. Sometimes if we push, and let's say that the pilot, it was already a delayed flight, and the pilots are on certain, the FAA requires them to have a certain amount of sleep, and so they can only fly a certain amount of time. So let's say that they time out, or there's a whole bunch of scenarios, but yes, we have had that situation where they have had to return to the gate, and it creates this whole ripple effect again. But okay, Sarah, are you working at the same gate or different gates each day? That is a good question. So some stations, they're called gate staffed. So they work at the same gate day in and day out. There's a rhythm to each gate. You're right. At our station, we do not. We get assignments. We get assignments per concourse. So like if I bid an N2 team, so concourse number 2 team, that means that all of my flights will be somewhere on that concourse, but it can be at different gates. We do have, you can bid these. There are other teams that are like traveling teams that go to different concourses. So good question. Okay. All right. So we are going to let you guys go. Enjoy your Sunday. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for all of your questions. You guys are, I love it. I love discussing with you, and I hope you guys have all enjoyed this, and stay tuned. We will have another video for you, and I will see you on the ramp. See you.